G'day all, welcome back to another rant. Today we're talking about spare bedroom tax and working from home tax that have been floated. There are rumours going around. Let's jump into it. We've got Paul Murray to start off with. Then we're going to head over to Channel 7. I'm going to give you my thoughts along the way.
Well, I want to take you to, before I show you some of her nonsense today, a story that was first floated, as best as I can work out, 5 days ago. Now, this was from a research organisation who, during the height of the Economic Roundtable, was suggesting that potentially land tax could be used as a way of helping people who are already living in homes where their kids have moved out to move out and move into smaller homes, because eventually it would be a price reason. Put simply, a tax on spare bedrooms.
How about we just stop importing so many people and let it all settle down and let the development of new housing catch up? How about that? That's not going to happen. So while this is an idea, ideas are dangerous. And this spare bedroom tax, to my understanding, is something that exists over in the UK. So it's not a pipe dream. It exists somewhere in this world, and people are paying it somewhere in this world. So I feel bad for the people over in the UK. They're copping it. All this is the government forcing people out of their homes to downsize. Think about a retiree probably on a pension. And I know people say, oh, retiree, and they've got this expensive house and they're rich. And no, they're only rich in the asset. No, they're not cash rich. They're going to be forced literally to sell their house, offload it, because they're not going to be able to afford these taxes. You can see what's going to happen here. Why should people who have worked their entire life to pay off the biggest investment of their life and their security for when they get older or middle-aged or whatever it may be forced to sell it because the government is going to tax it into oblivion? People say, nah, it's absurd. This idea is just rubbish. It'll never happen, not in a million years. That is fantasyland stuff. As I said, guys, it exists over in the UK. Why should that be a thing? Why would people settle for that? So they're touching the family home because the country's completely broke. So they're thinking about it, or people are putting these ideas out. So what? Raising GST, taxing the family home, working from home tax, which I'll get onto. The list goes on. 3-day roundtable for productivity. Just how to productively tax the punters, you and I at home, and probably small businesses too.
The person who was responsible for this was quoted at the time as saying that they emphasised there's nothing wrong with a home having more bedrooms than people and space for an office.
Yeah, cheers.
Or for children, for visitors, or for
Good on you,
hobbies.
mate.
Thanks, Dale. But she wondered if there was some inefficiency in the way that the housing stock is being allocated, which might happen if those extra bedrooms were taxed.
The property isn't being allocated. So, number one, they're being taxed in the wazoo anyway. You pay stamp duty. You pay your council rates every year. If you've got investment property, you're getting bent over. You're not even getting the coconut oil treatment. You're getting a handful of sand thrown on there as lubricant, and you're paying extortionate amounts of land tax. What do they mean? They need to tax them. Property is the biggest cash cow for the government. Another thing I'll start ranting about is this 5% deposit scheme. You know why they're doing that, don't you? Because they want more entry-level first home buyers, or people finally being able to get a home or get back into housing. They might have had divorces or whatever, so they can afford a home on their own. They want those people to pay more stamp duty. That's all it is. It's 5% deposit, so you pay stamp. That's it. Think about it like that. People aren't talking about that. It's getting more people to fill up the coffers. Stamp duty, biggest scam in history. Back in the day, when property was, basically very affordable for everybody, and it was a couple of years' salary or something like that. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, stamp duty wouldn't have been such a big burden relative to what they were earning, relative to the property price back then. Now it is. So think about these people. Number one, because of these people who are going to have this 5% deposit scheme, it isn't really 5%. They need about 12% because they're going to need to pay stamp duty, 5.5% here in Victoria, plus all the associated transactional costs that come along with transacting on property. They don't tell them about that. Yeah, we're going to get you in. We're doing it for you. Housing shouldn't be hard to afford. We're going to do it for you. However, it's going to spike up through the roof. Anyway, I'll move on. I'm going on a tangent.
A couple of days ago, story gets reheated, this time at news.com.au. These are not obscure websites. These are all read by hundreds of thousands of people each and every day, nay, millions each and every month. Call for households with spare bedrooms to be taxed. The same person. Questions are being raised about how well the housing market is serving real demand. Same person. Suggesting that a tax could help people move into housing that fits their size. Continues, governments could make it more expensive to have more housing than you need. Now,
I've been telling you guys this for the last sort of 6 months. And once again, it's an idea. It's nothing set in stone. I think it's going to come at some point. You know, it might not be popular right now. Obviously, not going to be popular. But people will vote for this because people who are looking to get into the property market, etc., will vote for it because, you know, it's like a jab to current homeowners and they believe that there'll be this huge exodus and then there'll be half-price houses, which won't happen. So once again, the government getting involved in your own personal affairs. People think you're in control of the things you own. You don't really own them. Well, it's just incredible. They can just change rules at any given point. But what's with these people coming up with this? What's with people saying, oh, surely they don't have houses? Anyone who owns their own home would not be coming up with such nonsense.
After these stories had been swirling, at least in the online world, in, again, not obscure places, but places where the Minister's office would have been aware the word housing, and if you say housing, and Claire O'Neill, click your heels, and guess what? The transcripts will appear in her office. So there is no mystery as to whether her office was aware of the stories at all. Now, for whatever reason, there was no attempt to push back on those stories, regardless of where they came from. So because there had been effective silence on what seems like a pretty wild idea, one that I wouldn't be expecting anyone to be introducing anytime soon, to make sure that was the case, a question was asked of clueless Claire O'Neill today in Question Time. Roll the tape.
My question is to the Minister for Housing. With the government failing to deliver on its commitment to build 1.2 million new homes, new taxes on the family home were raised at the government's 3-day talkfest. So will the Minister rule out slugging Australians with new taxes on their spare bedrooms?
Now, Claire O'Neill's response...
We know what's going to happen here. She's going to come out, absolute snake, absolute venomous viper tongue. Here we go.
...was an 11 out of 10, and by that I mean over the top, for a story that nobody had made up, one where some sort of a research body had been quoted by both news.com.au and the Channel 9 newspapers, and many echoes of that story have existed now for the best part of a week. Yet because she, of course, is high on a hill, or dare I say high on a horse, this was the response.
I don't know what bizarre fantasy land those opposite have been.
See, when I was stopping it, you can tell right away this is masking something that probably is being talked about. It's completely discrediting somebody. Why can't you just say, no, this is not something we're considering. You got them all laughing in the back there. You got your old mate Chalmers there as well. They've all been sitting around for 3 days thinking about how to get more money out of you, out of the punters, how to put the responsibility of the failing housing strategy that they've got onto the people, i.e. tax you out of the arse so you move out and move a bigger family in, and that's more people in a house. Start day trading houses.
Living in, what on earth are they talking about? Now, I've heard that these questions are getting asked over in the other place today, and I thought, God, the housing minister, the shadow housing minister's, hasn't had his wheat bix for breakfast this morning. I mean, I don't know what he's going on about, but the fact that we've got people in the House of Representatives asking ridiculous questions like this, like, get a clue, guys.
Have a listen to her. Absolute bulldog. You need to be a complete snake to be a politician, especially Labor. Think about it, could you speak to anybody like that at any other workplace? Do you think these guys are speaking to these female politicians like that? Ever listen to her? What a joke.
So, of course, all part of the overall campaign. We're the adults in charge. These are the people that don't know how to fire a shot. These are the people that were heavily rejected at the last election, so who cares? But again, the story was out and about. She either didn't know the story, maybe, but you would imagine that if you're the housing minister, you're across many a story and an idea, you would imagine that your office is across the idea. But guess what? It's not just the websites that have been talking about this very story. Now, again, if the sources of the information are ones that this Member of Parliament does not want to pay attention to, you think anything that would have come out of the mouth of an ABC radio host in Melbourne, it might have hit the mark as an issue that you'd like to either kill before it grows or respond to. But again, third media organisation talking about it. This one, the ABC.
Eliza, there's a furious response to the idea. What do you make of that anger?
Oh, I totally get it. I mean, there's so many reasons that you'd want to have more bedrooms, work from home, amenity, guests, babysitting, which I know a lot of grandparents do. And not just that, but if you implement yet another tax on people just for living in their homes, that's politically much less popular than just taxing the smaller portion of people that are transacting every year.
So,
I'd love to know if they do come up with a tax, how much this will be. It's a bit worrying. Like, they're clearly broke, and I have a theory on all these think tanks, especially the Grattan Institute and all these places that come up with these BS ideas. My view on that is that those are used as marketing. They get an idea out there, right? There's no accountability from any of the parties, political parties, that they've come up with this idea. It's just an independent think tanks come up with this idea. They see if it gets up or not. They want to see what the reaction is to it. Market testing. That's my opinion on it. You can say I'm cooking on the glass Barbie. I'm on crack or whatever. It's just, why would just some random independent body be throwing out rubbish that is backing a full agenda at the moment, which is tax the people into oblivion because you're broke?
The Age, in terms of Melbourne, and that's where the minister lives, The Age, news.com.au, the ABC. Oh, yeah, and Channel 7 talked about it too.
Well, a mismatch between the average size of households and the average size of a home is prompting experts to propose a tax on spare bedrooms. New research from Cotality revealed a third of Australian households is made up of just 2 people, while the most common property is 3 bedrooms. It suggested that a levy, along with the removal of stamp duty, may encourage shrinking families and empty nesters to downsize, freeing up supply.
That's it, Granny. You've raised your kids. Get out of your house, you old boiler. Get on the road, on the scrap heap. Get into a little ramshackle dog box in the sky. Stay away from property. Get your hands off it.
The reason why nicknames stick, and clueless Claire O'Neill would stick in terms of this case, that either she was completely unaware of multiple news services over multiple days talking about an idea that if she has no plans to introduce it, she could knock on the head from day one. But instead, of course, she's peacocking down there in Canberra because they're the team that'll win forever, which means we get yet another reminder that perhaps it'll be arrogance. Perhaps it will be the peacocking of the Labor Party that will end up doing more damage to the Labor Party than anyone else in the next few years.
I don't know. Like, people are voting for this, and it's a bit worrying. I think they'll get in. They're going to be in for a while. I'm going to say they're going to be in for at least one more term after this. People don't know what pain is yet. How long have they been in? A few months? And things are skyrocketing through the roof. They're fielding new taxes. Complete field day. Hitting small business, medium-sized businesses with taxes that make it almost unsustainable to operate.
and they're going to do damage if they keep carrying on like this. Now, as we know, the Australian economy is amazing. Why? Because we've got the Prime Minister, the snake charmer and Toto in charge of the way the world is working. And because he's wearing sneakers like...
Look how cool he looks. I'm so cool, guys.
Like the cool kids. Whew, this ain't a dude in his 60s. But also, I talk often about the triangle of dependence. This is where the economy that is being built by those people, not the puppy, those guys, is going to be very similar to the one that Labor has built in Victoria. The triangle of dependence, as I've spoken 150 times before, and I'll get on to another 150 until you know it off.
That's it, Paul. Have a good rant, mate. I don't mind Paul. I know some people hate Paul Murray, people hate Sky News, but what they're saying at the moment, it's not propaganda. It's not true. I've had some comments on my recent videos where I've talked, used Sky News as talking points. It's true. How can you deny it? It's true. Everything they say is true. Nah, it's far right propaganda. Rah, rah, rah. Racist. What a joke. Let's talk about the triangle of dependence. Who's the biggest welfare recipients in this country? I'm going to say the Australian Public Service and politicians. They're on welfare. We're paying for them to screw us over. They're thinking about more ways. Think about this. Think about it in terms of business. Like, say Netflix. Right? Netflix at the moment is bleeding customers because the price is going up too much. It was $8, then it was $12, then it was $17, then 23, now 28 or $29, and people are just saying, nah, too much. On top of that, the quality of the shows has gone down. There's not as much releases coming out. So hang on. So what the government, think about it in terms of a business. Like, that's called enshittification, right? That's what the government does. They get the punters, the ones who think the government's going to help them out. They get them all sucked in, cost of living, bring down property prices, blah, blah, blah. Bills are going to come down, and groceries, we're going to combat that. All the punters fall for it hook, line and sinker, like the low-priced Netflix people, all right, the customers. And then what do? They completely screw it up and make life more expensive, just shitification of your life. That's what's happening at the moment.
Off by heart like me, is that they want the majority of people to either be receiving welfare from the state, working for the state, or if you're in business, for the biggest customer to be the state. And because nobody will rock the boat.
Well, if you're in business, small businesses, copping it. Absolute hiding. Talking about land tax. And we're going to get onto land tax. I'm not even... what do we do this? What do we just say the halfway break? Guys, if you're new, consider subscribing. We're trying to get to 10K, so yeah, help get me there. Press a few buttons. Press that sub button. Like, comment. Let's get my videos pushed out to more people. If you do want to support the channel a little bit more than that, I do have a Patreon on which you can contribute to. The link's in the video description or the pinned comment. Thanks, and let's get on with it.
Then they end up with a permanent majority. Sure, the deficit goes from 1 trillion to 2, but who cares? It's just about winning the next election. Well, today, we got some numbers from the Australian Bureau of Statistics about the number of businesses that exist in Australia. Latest count, 2.7 million businesses exist in Australia. Now, whether that's ABNs, whether that's things that are defined as a company, I'm not too sure, but 2.7 million businesses in Australia. About 1 million of those businesses actually employ someone. There, of course, being the extreme bulk of businesses in Australia are sole traders. And we often talk about sole trading and how often this government couldn't give two buggers about it. Why? Because if you're a sole trader, you don't fit into the triangle of dependence. But also what was fascinating to see here is about the number of businesses that were started in the financial year of 2024 to 2025. 437,000 were created, but 370,500 had closed. Now, whether that was...
That's interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of those businesses too are just people setting up ABNs for whatever purpose. A lot of them aren't actually trading or doing anything. But think about they don't talk about this a lot on the news, just how much small business is struggling, just how much the government, especially here in Victoria, has made it very hard to turn a profit and to make the business a going concern. Land tax, payroll tax, you name it, everything's just Tax, tax, tax. There's no pushing productivity. They didn't sit around in this 3-day productivity summit saying, why don't we reduce tax on small businesses, really encourage people to invest and be entrepreneurial, get things going, employ people. No, we're just going to tax people.
Of the 437,000 created that year, or whether that was just 370,000 fewer businesses than the many years before, you still see the vast majority of businesses that are created don't make it all the way through its first year. But the reason we get back to the triangle of dependence is if I show you where the greatest growth in businesses has been, you will notice they are ones that have a connection to government.
Big Daddy Gov.
On the left-hand side, the blue there suggests that the businesses that are going backwards in terms of the number of are retail, trade, or agriculture, forestry and fisheries. The longest line, heading off to the right, almost running off the screen, would be healthcare and social assistance.
That's it, pumped up by the NDIS. All right, let's move on to the final clip for the day. Working from home tax. Is it a reality or a scare campaign? I have a theory on the working from home tax. They're enshrining this whole working from home, especially here in Victoria, the 2 days a week or 3 days a week or whatever it is, as a rule, which I think is completely ridiculous that it's actually becoming legislation. There's a catch here, and the hammer's going to come down. Now, it could be a tax, it could be a levy, whatever it is. Very interesting, because they're going to say something along the lines of you're in the house, you're working in the home for business and income earning activities. Therefore, we need to tax you give you a proportionate land tax to the portion of the size of the room or in your house. Yeah, it's coming.
Allen government has shut down claims its new working from home proposal will hit employees with land tax. Industry experts are calling for clarity before the right is enshrined into law.
It's a proposal plastered in red, but when it comes to the legalities of working from home, there's a lot of grey.
This is both a red herring and a nightmare that the state government's created.
The Premier standing firm against claims her working from home mandate could make more Victorians liable for land tax.
It's just Liberal rubbish and nonsense.
Right now, homeowners are taxed if they own a business and
I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth.
Work from home, not if they work for someone else. The State Revenue Office does have the power to change that, but the Premier says they won't.
There are no tax changes. There are no tax settings changes.
The State Revenue Office last ruled on the issue more than a decade ago, saying workers were unlikely to attract a land tax bill if they complete most of their work from the office. Some industry experts claim that's not the case.
It's pretty clear that if you're working from home more than a third of the week, you are liable for land tax.
It would only apply if you're running a business from home. It has to be a substantial business according to the SRO. Substantial being more than $30,000 worth of income.
Substantial? 30 grand? You can't even survive on that. What are you talking about? That's substantial. $30,000 of income. Why can't they just get out of people's lives, let people operate, make money, and let's have a prosperous country? So I've been talking about tax this whole video, yeah? I've been talking about tax a lot lately because it's just getting out of hand. Getting out of hand. I know a lot of people are upset about it, getting pissed off too. I'm not the only one out here. I'm just saying probably what a lot of people are thinking. So hang on, let's think about this. So this already exists, which I was unaware of. If you're running your own shop, you're working from home, say as a consultant, or you're doing an online business or something like that, you have to pay land tax on the house you live in because you're generating revenue. Have a think about all the ways they get people, like complete snakes. So why won't this apply if they say you're going to be working from home? Well, it needs to be fair for the business operators. You're generating income from the home. You're using your home as an office, as a place of employment. I don't think it's a scare tactic. I don't think it's rubbish. There's just something more to this. But I'm just sick and tired of all the taxes that we have. It's just incredible. Incredible. It really is. I'd love to get a full list of every single tax that the public gets slugged with and small businesses to prop up this government, which does not act in the people's best interest. It acts as its own interest.
More than 30% of your house size being used for business.
Confusion the state government may be left to clear up if they manage to jump through the first legislative hurdle.
The bottom line here, though, is that the state government cannot mandate private sector workers working from home. They're raising false hopes and hoping people are gullible enough to fall for it.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
That's it. So that's the big issue, guys. So I think working from home is really good, but does it need to be legislated? It's an agreement between yourself and your employer. So once again, they're getting into the business and affairs of people trying to run their business efficiently. And if working from home doesn't work for that business, well, too bad. You'll get people saying, well, no, it's law. I can work 2 days from home. So people don't have control over their own workforce, which they employ. I'm not anti-work from home. I think it's good. Some people do take the absolute piss, but I think it's good for people, especially if they have kids, and there can be a lot of flexibility and they can do things at different times of the day. It changes up how people work as long as the work gets done. Very interesting. How's this? I want to talk about this too. I had a bit of a pause there because I was just having to think about it. So I was trying to articulate this point. We have so many issues going on in society, in Australia, in Victoria, at this particular point in time. There's a lot of unrest, a lot of division. We have mass migration happening, and people call me racist. It is what it is, guys. Too many people coming here, and the system's buckling. It's not about the colour of the skin, okay? Too many bodies, too many mouths to feed. Too many cars going on roads. We're in a recession, whether they say it or not. So more people fighting for less jobs, making it harder for people already living here to get those jobs. It's making life harder all round. No, let's just worry about working from home. What about property? They're never going to be able to change that. The only way they're going to be able to do anything with property is, and I think it'll only be temporary, even if they get rid of capital gains exemptions on the home, even if they get rid of negative gearing and capital gains tax discounts on investment properties, it'll just be a very temporary flood of properties that'll hit the market, and then they'll be absorbed by the market. It'll be like a stock price, right? There's a shock, it goes down for a bit, and bang, it's back up and more to where it was previously. So none of these things actually, in my opinion, would do anything. So why aren't they trying to think about ways to make things easier for people? Because they're certainly not doing that. They're making life hard. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys who like to watch all my videos to the end. Put in the comments if you made it to the end. I always love seeing those. See you in the video tomorrow. Cheers.